up guys, Jake from A&J Reacts here. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. New season coming up and we are going to be looking into Serie A. New players coming in, players leaving the league, new teams coming up. We are going to be doing a prediction on the Serie A table, relegation, who's staying in Serie A, who's getting the European spots, Champions League spots, and then of course predicting who I believe is going to win the Scudetto for the 23-24 season. So going into the prediction for the table, we of course are going to be starting at the relegation spots. Obviously, when it comes to relegation spots, the first few teams that we're going to be highlighting are the newly promoted teams. So obviously, we have Previsioni, Serie A champions, Genoa gained automatic promotion by getting a second place spot, and Cagliari, who made all the way to the playoff finals and won and gained a promotional spot. So, obviously, we're going to be looking at Previsioni first. I personally do not believe they're going to get relegated. They are a team that has played some absolute sensational football, gaining a few more players within the window to strengthen their team just a little bit more. And I personally do not believe that they are the ones that are going to get relegated. However, next spot, Genoa. Looking at them last season, I was not that impressed by them at all. The type of football they play can easily be read by many opposition. Like, it's just a very predictable game that they play. They don't produce anything special. And I think, especially away from home, against certainly the big teams and the mid-table teams in Serie A, they're going to struggle to even get a point, in my opinion. And I truly believe coming into this league, they look the weaker side. Out of the three that came up, I do believe they just don't look good enough to stay in Serie A. So Genoa, I'm sorry. For me, dead last, I am putting Genoa. Now we're going into 19th place. Another team that is going to be relegated in my opinion. And at 19th, I have gone for Lecce. Lecce last season were just shocking on their out of all the teams that I wanted to play as a Juventus fan, I always felt so confident going into the game with Lecce more than any other team, if I'm being perfectly honest, because it was the type of game that I see many teams doing well against, and the transfer market so far this season for them has been shocking. They have signed certain players. They have signed Falcone from Sampdoria, but he just wasn't all that impressive for me, and I can't see how he will make that much of a difference. And Youssef Meli, central midfielder from Morocco that was playing for Fiorentina last year, I mean, wasn't a starter. So buying players that are not regularly playing, and yet another player that I just don't see improving them drastically. And due to the fact that they have not strengthened their team a great deal to make a difference, and if they are going to struggle even more than they did last year, and they just escaped relegation by just a margin, and I think they are going down to Serie B. Lecce is a team that I've put at 19th. And now we're at the final place of relegation. We have 18th place. For me, Verona got very lucky. And now I do believe that their time has come to drop down. Verona is the third team that is going to get relegated to Serie B. Reason because they have let go of more crucial players. But Simeone, that is now official. He has joined Napoli permanently. You've got the likes of Ivan Ilic as well, who has left for Torino for a fee of 15.7 million. Also, young up-and-coming prospect who I rate very highly, Matteo Cariancelli, who is a phenomenal right-winger, 21 years of age, and they let him go to Lazio. And the players they bought in as well is nowhere near as good to replace them. It's not going to impact the team massively. I just cannot see Hellas Verona staying up unless they get a last-minute surge in the transfer market and buy top-notch players, which I can't see happening with the amount that they have to spend. Verona is going down. I do not see it any other way. Okay, so next, at 17th, just escaping relegation, I have put Salernitana. Salernitana, they have done remarkably well in the last few years to stay in Serie A, and I think that's just going to continue. I'm not going to anticipate anything special from them, if I'm being perfectly honest. The last couple of years, you know, having the likes of Ribery and others, it's experienced players that they've brought in. I just don't feel they are going to do better. I just think they're going to slightly be worse in terms of positioning in the table. And I think that they are going to be in a bout in relegation, but they won't get there. I reckon it will probably be done in the last couple of games that they will secure their place for next season and still in Serie A, but that's where I see them personally. Then coming in to 16th, newly promoted side, Cagliari. If this was the Cagliari before Claudio Ranieri came in, then I would be putting them in relegation without a moment's thought. But since Ranieri's appointment, they have played some superb football, really showing some hunger, fight, determination to get over the line and make their way to the playoff final and then go on to win it. And within that time, in around 20 games, 25 games, only losing 2 since the appointment of Ranieri, and they play some solid, compact football. I do anticipate Cagliari are going to have a decent season. Many people may think because they were the playoff winners that they are the weaker side. On the contrary, since Ranieri's appointment, they have looked just on par with Frosinone, which is why I believe that they are going to stay in Serie A next season and stay at 16th. And speaking of Frosinone, I've got them at 15th. Played some explosive, exciting football throughout the season in Serie B. Got some tremendous young talent and some experienced Donnies in there as well. I anticipate both these newly promoted sides are going to have seasons to remember this year and get some shock results. I'm not going to say that they might fight for mid-table. I do believe that would be a little bit unrealistic. But both Cagliari and Frosinone, I anticipate, are going to stay in Serie A next season. And if that happens, probably get the attention of other players to come join and make them stronger. And they could possibly be a team that could be sticking around in Serie A for years to come. So that's why I have it. Frosinone, 15th. Okay, now moving into the mid-table. At 14th, I have gone for Empoli. Exact same position that they finished last season. I just anticipate them doing more of the same. They managed to get a few good results, particularly that 4-1 victory they had over Juve last season towards the end. I just don't see their transfer market as so far being bad or good. It's just one of them ones. Their team is just pretty much the same, just a few additional players that could be in the mix to start, but mostly you would see being more for depth. So I just anticipate Empoli doing more of the same this season. Can't see anything crazy, so I have gone for Empoli at 14th. Right, now coming in at 13th, I have gone for Torino FC. Had a decent window so far. They've had a decent window, gotten in a few additional players, and I only see them dropping just a couple of places in which they finished last season. They have still have a good enough squad to stay in Serie A without question. Like, this is a team that is definitely a Serie A team, and they've got some experienced players and a few good players in there that I think are really solid. Experienced players and the likes of Ilic, Singo. Managed to get a few players from Verona as well that I think could add a little bit more quality to the team and just probably get a few decent results throughout the season. But like I said, nothing crazy. I just see them being a low mid-table side. But Torino FC, 13th. Right now, in at number 12, I have gone for Udinese. Udinese, I just see them doing more of the same, sort of similar position like last year. They managed to get a few decent results last season. Managed to get a point against us, a point against Napoli, and vice versa. And they got themselves into a pretty decent position at bang in the middle of mid-table. However, with new additions into the team, such as Brenner, who came from Cincinnati in the MLS, I think is truly going to struggle. If I'm perfectly, there's a little bit of hype around him due to the price tag, etc. But I just cannot see him doing all that well. I anticipate this centre forward to be a starter, but I really feel that he is going to struggle. And they've sold crucial likes of Benasau, Benkovic, two centre halves, and also centre forward in Christian Gonzalez, who I think was a decent part of the team, and they let him go for free. But I feel that 12th place is a very respectable position for Udinese, and that's where I anticipate them finishing this season. At 11th place, just slightly lower than where they finished last season, I have gone for Bologna. Reason being that they have lost a few experienced players this window that I think were a crucial part of the team, not just technically on the pitch, psychologically, having them old Donnies, experienced players that played in Serie A for a number of years that would really spur them on in the big moments. But not drastically too bad. They have managed to invest quite a bit into their squad for the coming season, really strengthening their defence, signing the likes of Sam Bukema from AZ Alkmaar, Stefan Bosch from Hoffenheim, Moro from Moscow, Union Sangolay player, Al Azori, all young, hungry players that I think are going to do a solid job for them to get some decent results next season to keep them in a respectable position of mid-table. That is where I see Bologna finishing personally. I could be wrong, but I do anticipate they are going to be thereabouts around the mid-table. I can't see them going drastically low, and I cannot see them competing for the European places, if I'm being perfectly honest. Now, at 10th place in mid-table, high mid-table, I have gone for Sassuolo. Could be a bit of a shocker to some that watching this, but I feel Sassuolo, with the likes of Fratese leaving, and also, of course, Raspadori and Lucatelli finally leaving the club permanently, and other players as well, quite a number of players leaving Sassuolo, they are not going to be as fluent, as good as we usually see. But, on the other hand, they have made some good investments that are going to keep them at the high end, mid-table, in my opinion. The likes of Piemonte from Inter Milan, Bolocca from Frosinone, Valpato from Roma. I truly believe they are going to really do wonders for Sassuolo. But I don't feel enough for them eventually to make the final hurdle of competing for European places. But I think it's enough for them to stay on the high end of mid-table. So Sassuolo, for me, number 10. In at number 9, I have gone for Fiorentina. This may be shocking for some, but I'll explain my reasonings why I feel Fiorentina are going to drop off and not make a European place, which many believe that they could do. So obviously, last year's Europa Conference League finalists, they have brought in some players which on paper you could see being some exceptional signings for Fiorentina, the likes of Arthur, Mina, Baresi from Empoli, but they have also lost out on some pretty important players, in my opinion. Igor, who I think is a top centre-half for Fiorentina, who's left for Brighton. The likes of Saponara leaving, who was an experienced player for them. Bianco, Farani. These players, I feel, are key elements for the squad, more morally for the team. And also the fact that they are playing every Thursday night and they are going to be on the road a lot more often. I feel that's going to have an effect on Fiorentina personally. And the likes of Arthur and Mina, I don't see doing that well in Serie A, if I'm being completely honest. You look at Arthur, he spent time at Liverpool and Klopp just did not want any part of him. And at Juve as well, for the price tag he went for, was considered a failure. Mina, inconsistency with Everton. I genuinely don't think he's going to be hitting the ground running. So I really believe Fiorentina are not going to make European football unless they were to win the Conference League, which I feel will be a tough ask with teams that are in that now. But Fiorentina, number 9. And now, in at number 8, I have gone for Atalanta. Atalanta are making no European football, not for the case that they have lost a lot of talent. Obviously, with the likes of Højlund joining Manchester United, that will be a bit of a miss. Personally, it's not just goal scoring, because he wasn't an all-out goal scorer for them, but he contributed so much to the build-up play. It's more for the fact who I have got in at 7th place. At 7th place, I have gone for Monza. Monza have had, in my opinion, the best window out of all the Italian clubs this season. Signing the likes of Matteo Pessina, a proven international for Italy, Petegna from Napoli, a strong striker who is just brilliant in the air and is a type of striker you give service to him, he has half a chance, he will put it in the back of the net. Gianluca Carapi from Hellas Verona, who is a top second striker. They got an experienced player in Pablo Mari, the likes of Armando Iso as well coming in, signing Di Ambrosio and Gagliardini from Inter Milan. They have had the best window in this league by far, in my opinion. They have got such solid deals this window for these players. And I truly feel that these players are going to guide Monza to European football next year. This is going to be the shock of the season, but I anticipate Monza competing for even Europa League spots. But I feel Europa League, with the teams that we got on top, are going to be much too much. So I've gone for Monza at number 7. Okay, now we're getting into the business end. In at Europa League spot at number 6, I have gone for Lazio. Lazio, for me, have just lost the most crucial player of their team in Milinkovic-Savic, as he went for 40 million to Al Hilal. That is going to be such a huge miss, because I do personally believe that he was their best player by far last season, and his impact to the team was huge. They made some good signings, and the likes of Cancerelli, he is a good signing. Diego Gonzalez, a decent addition to the team that eventually could one day make the starting 11, but we've seen a bit of a decline in the team already, and I think last year that is just going to be a one-off for Lazio. Getting 2nd place, getting Champions League football, that's going to be a one-off. Plus, with the Champions League football as well, and you consider how old the team is as well, they are going to struggle to find their feet. So for me, I've put Lazio at number 6 due to the fact that last season was a one-off and they've lost their best player. In at number 5, I have gone for AC Milan. AC getting Champions League football only due to the fact that Juventus were deducted 10 points from the league table. If that was not the case, we would have got Champions League football and Milan would have been in Europa League. That was all it literally was. And not to mention as well the departures of Tonali for one. That is going to be a huge, huge miss. An absolute massive miss. I genuinely think he was the player that really made that team click massively. And I look at their attacking options as well. Obviously, you've got Rafael Leao, world-class left winger, world-class. But him on his own, because I think Giroud is going to get past it now. Raheem Diaz, he's officially left. But then all these other players that they've brought in as well, the likes of Chukwueze, etc. I just don't believe this is going to be a squad good enough to get Champions League football. Don't get me wrong. I feel they're going to be competing. At most points of the season, Milan are going to be competing for the Champions League spots. But I feel like they're going to fall short due to the lack of quality in their initial 11. And I feel their hearts are going to be broken maybe right towards the end when they're not getting Champions League football. But AC Milan for me at number 5. Number 4, first spot for Champions League, I have gone for Roma FC. Roma making some good moves in the transfer market and have not lost a lot of players, to be honest with you, in the transfer market. Making some good business, good signings with the likes of Evan and Dicker from Frankfurt, who was sensational in Frankfurt's cup run in the Europa League. The likes of Alla from Olympique Lyon signed on a free. And then Christensen, right back from Leeds on a loan transfer, who could get some game time. I think Roma have had a pretty decent window thus far, just adding an additional few players to strengthen their depth just a little bit more, which I think is finally going to get them over the hurdle and get Champions League football for next season. So I have got Roma at 4th. Also due to the fact that their initial 11, the likes of Dybala, Abraham, Pellegrini, absolute sensational players, they're just going to get them over the line. I don't think it's going to be quite as easy. There's still going to be a few teams competing for the Champions League below them. So it's going to be a bit of a tough ride for them, but they're going to make it over the line. In at number 3, I have gone for Inter Milan. Yes, they have had a bad window in terms of they have lost a lot of players. The likes of Onana just recently moving to Manchester United. Marcel Brozovic moving to Al Nassr. The likes of the depth players of Gagliardini and D'Ambrosio moving on, both to Monza. Milan Skriniar finally leaving to PSG, and he was a top-notch centre-half. And could he have made a difference for them last season? Absolutely. And also the likes of Edin Dzeko leaving, who has been a sensational striker for them. And Lukaku did not extend his loan as well. So there are a great deal of players that have left Inter Milan. But at the same time, they have ended up increasing their depth as well. Assalini signing permanently. Davide Fratesi joining for Sassuolo. Acerbi joining permanently. Marcus Thuram from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Juan Cuadrado as well, and experienced players. Sensi joining at the end of his loan. He's come back from Monza. So, yes, they got rid of a lot of players. And Jan Sommer, a solid replacement for Onana. This has been a good bit of business. And yet again, Giuseppe Morata doing his magic, who is the best sporting director in Italian football at the minute. So they have managed to get some good deals over the line to replace some of the players that they have lost. So I anticipate Inter 3rd place. I can see it being quite comfortably. In at number 2, final Champions League place, Napoli. Napoli are going to finish 2nd, in my opinion. Losing the likes of Kim Min-jae and not finding a solid replacement in him, who was a crucial part of Napoli's success last season. Not being able to find a replacement, even thereabouts or half as good as Kim Min-jae, is going to come back to bite them in the arse. And they haven't really made that much more investment into the team. A little bit more depth was what they were lacking. That may cost them further progression into the Champions League, and probably what cost them against Milan. Not to mention Kim Min-jae not being in the team, that had a big part to play. So with him gone, I really could see Napoli declining a lot more. Which leads me to number 1. Juventus are gonna win the Campionato. Juventus, we're getting our crown back. Juventini, believe me when I'm telling you, we are coming back. These lot who are pretending that they are the kings of Italy are going to realise that they're not, because we are going to destroy every single one of these fuckers that are going to step in our way. Because right now, we have got to have the fire to just get the title back. It has been 4 years since we've had that title around us. When we get that championship back, everyone's going to realise we are back. We are Juventus. We are the kings of Italy. We are the kings of Italia, and none of them can compare to us. Napoli hyping it up after their just little third trophy. Little Napoli, right? Inter Milan. Just don't forget, we have still got double the amount you've got. Same for you, AC Milan. We've got double the amount of Serie A titles that you have got. And Roma, Lazio, yes, you might have had a better season than us last year, but that was just due to technicality of us getting them point deductions, right? You didn't do it the right way. You didn't do it the hard way. We are coming back. Next year, this season, we are going to regain our Scudetto, and we are going to be back in Champions League football, and all of Europe is going to know. Everyone's going to know we are back, and we ain't here to fuck about. We are Juventus fino alla fine, until the very end. That is my prediction, and I'm leaving it at that. Much love. Ciao, ciao. Forza Juve!